The Buffalo Bills ARE completely reborn, and the rest of the NFL should be terrified. Forget everything you thought you knew about the Buffalo Bills. Forget the heartbreak. Forget the playoff exits. Forget the same old story of Josh Allen carrying the world on his shoulders and coming up just short. Because what is happening in Orchard Park right now is something this franchise has never seen before, and honestly, something the entire NFL wasn't ready for. A new coach with ice in his veins and swagger in his step. A superstar quarterback who just became a father and says it's made him hungrier than ever. A brand new stadium that is going to be the loudest building in professional football. And a defense that is switching up its entire identity to become the most feared unit in the league. The Buffalo Bills of 2026 are not your daddy's Bills. They are not your older brother's Bills. They are a completely different animal, and if you sleep on them, you are going to wake up in November wondering what hit you. So buckle up, because we are breaking down everything. Every juicy storyline, every wild quote, every shocking move, and every reason why this might finally be the year the Bills don't just make the playoffs, but go all the way. This is the most complete offseason recap you are going to find anywhere. And we are just getting started. Let's go back to January, because that's where this whole story begins. The Bills had just been eliminated from the playoffs by the Denver Broncos in heartbreaking overtime fashion, 33-30. Josh Allen threw 4 turnovers. The locker room was devastated. And owner Terry Pegula had seen enough. After years of deep playoff runs that always seemed to fall just short, the decision was made to part ways with longtime head coach Sean McDermott. Now, McDermott built something real in Buffalo. He deserves enormous credit for turning the Bills into a perennial contender. But the results at the top of the mountain were never there. And in a win-now league with a quarterback as talented as Josh Allen, patience runs thin fast. So who do the Bills turn to? They look right in their own building, and they hand the keys to a 36-year-old offensive mastermind named Joe Brady. That's right, the same Joe Brady who had been serving as the Bills' offensive coordinator and who is now officially the youngest head coach in the entire NFL. Think about that for a second. The youngest head coach in the NFL, stepping into one of the most pressure-packed jobs in professional sports, with a franchise quarterback who just turned 30 and a fan base that is absolutely ravenous for a Super Bowl. No pressure, right? But here's the thing about Joe Brady that you need to understand before you write him off as some young, inexperienced guy who got lucky with a promotion. This man is not your average first-time head coach. He has been around elite football his entire career. When he was the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers back in 2020, he built the first offense in Panthers history with 4 different players who each surpassed 1,000 scrimmage yards in a single season. He understands how to build an offense that spreads the ball, creates mismatches, and puts quarterbacks in positions to succeed. And now he has Josh Allen. Joe Brady with Josh Allen is a combination that should keep every defensive coordinator in the AFC up at night, staring at the ceiling and sweating through their sheets. Brady was officially named head coach on January 27th, and from day one, he came in with a clear mission and a clear message. Hard work, connection, culture, and one phrase above all else that has become the rallying cry of this entire Bills team heading into 2026. Put the ball down. That phrase, simple as it sounds, means everything in the context of this team. It means competitive stamina. It means going 4 quarters and then some against anybody in the league. It means never giving up, never backing down, and grinding until the final whistle, no matter what the scoreboard says. Players have heard it. They have repeated it. And more importantly, they have bought into it. That is everything for a first-year head coach trying to establish a culture from scratch. And the players are not just tolerating Brady, they are absolutely loving him. One of the most entertaining quotes to come out of the entire offseason came from a veteran on the roster who summed up Brady's vibe in a way that honestly no journalist could have scripted better. He said, and we are not making this up, that without question Joe Brady is the coolest white boy he has ever met. Said the man rocks a taper fade, gets his hair cut right alongside the players, and just has this unmistakable, cool, laid-back energy that makes everyone around him feel comfortable. But don't confuse laid back with soft. Brady brings a fiercely competitive edge underneath all that coolness, and the players are picking up on both sides of that personality. He's someone they want to run through a wall for. That combination of being genuinely cool and genuinely demanding is incredibly rare in a head coach, and Buffalo has struck gold. Now let's talk about the man at the center of everything. The reason this entire city wakes up and breathes football every single day of the year. Number 17. Josh Allen. The reigning MVP. One of the most physically gifted quarterbacks to ever play the game, and heading into 2026, a brand new father. Allen and his wife, actress and singer Haley Steinfeld, welcomed their baby girl into the world during the offseason, and the impact of that experience on Allen as a football player is something that has everyone around the Bills genuinely excited. Because Allen himself has said it, this is going to be the best version of himself, not just a good version, not just a healthy version, the best version. Allen had foot surgery in January, repairing a broken fifth metatarsal he had been playing through during the 2025 season. The fact that this man was dragging a broken foot through playoff games while throwing for over 4,200 yards and 39 total touchdowns during the regular season tells you everything you need to know about his competitive DNA. He came back healthy for OTAs, he was out on that field building chemistry with his new weapons, and by all accounts, he looks better than ever. And when you ask him why, he doesn't just talk about the training or the scheme. He talks about his daughter. He talks about wanting to show her what it looks like to work for something great. He talks about his wife being a rock star. The why behind his football has fundamentally changed, and everyone around him says that shift in mindset is palpable. His own position coach has admitted that Allen has a level of awareness and maturity at this stage of his career that most players don't find until much later in life. That's terrifying for the rest of the AFC. And let's not forget what they have built around Allen this offseason, because Brandon Beane did not sit on his hands after that playoff exit. The Bills went out and made two enormous free agent signings that immediately changed the trajectory of this roster. First, they brought in wide receiver DJ Moore. Now, Moore had a quieter 2025 season in Chicago, but that was because the Bears were deliberately pivoting toward their young players, and Moore simply wasn't the priority. When you look at what Moore has done over 8 years in this league, 43 career touchdowns, elite route running ability, and a physical skill set that makes defenders look foolish, you understand why the Bills were willing to trade a second-round pick to get him. And Joe Brady isn't just excited about Moore as a player. Brady coached Moore previously during his time with the Panthers, so this is a reunion built on trust and familiarity. Brady has been openly gushing about what Moore can do, talking about the way he contorts his body in directions that seem physically impossible for a man his size, the way he glides past defenders like they're standing in quicksand, the way he runs routes with a smoothness that makes it all look effortless. Josh Allen is already on the same page, saying Moore is extremely fun to throw to and that the chemistry is building fast. When your quarterback is saying a receiver is fun to throw to during OTAs without pads on, that is a very good sign. The second massive free agent addition is outside linebacker Bradley Chubb. This man is a certified menace on a football field. 8 years in the league. 48 career sacks. The kind of veteran pass rusher who changes the entire calculus for an offense trying to game plan against you. Chubb has familiarity with defensive systems similar to what the Bills are installing in 2026, having spent time in Miami playing in a comparable scheme. He walked in the door and immediately became a leader not just for the defense, but for the entire roster. There are players who lead within their own position group, players who lead their entire side of the ball, and then every once in a great while, you get a guy who can walk into any room in the building and command respect from everyone. Chubb is that third type, and the Bills' coaching staff recognized it immediately. Having James Cook on one side of the conversation and Bradley Chubb on the other, with Josh Allen in the middle, gives this team a personality and toughness that was missing in recent seasons. Now here is where things get really interesting, really dramatic, and really exciting for Bills fans everywhere. The defense is completely new. Not just new faces, but a new identity. The Bills are scrapping their base 4-3 defensive alignment and switching to a 3-4 under new defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard. And this isn't just a cosmetic change. This is a philosophical overhaul of how the Bills want to defend the football. Leonhard has made his vision crystal clear. This defense is going to attack. Attack the quarterback. Attack the football. Create turnovers. Create chaos. Create havoc in the backfield on every single snap. He talks about turnovers being the biggest stat in football, and he is building his entire defense around that principle. Blitzes from multiple positions. Multiple personnel groupings. Safeties playing closer to the line. Corners playing press coverage. Linebackers dropping into zones you don't expect. The plan is to make it so confusing and so physical that offensive coordinators genuinely dread looking at the Bills on their schedule. And the players on defense are not just accepting this new identity, they are absolutely buzzing about it. Veterans who have played in more traditional schemes are talking about how Leonhard gives them freedom to play instinctively, to react to what they see from the offensive line, to attack gaps without second-guessing themselves. One defender put it perfectly: Leonhard lets them play like they're running at 100% without fear of making a mistake. That kind of freedom, combined with that kind of talent, is a recipe for a defense that could be genuinely special. The transition isn't going to be seamless overnight. Leonhard himself has said he has a vision for what he wants this defense to be, but that it might take time to fully get there, and that he needs to be flexible with what his players can execute. That kind of honest, self-aware leadership from a coordinator is exactly what you want to hear. The roster also got an infusion of young talent through the NFL draft, with the Bills selecting 10 rookies, including 6 on the defensive side of the ball. The philosophy was clear. Brady, Bean, and Leonhard all understand that the defense needs new blood, new athleticism, and players who can grow into this new 3-4 scheme over the next several years. The rookies arrived in Buffalo for minicamp and immediately caught the attention of the coaching staff. One of the most talked about additions on defense is a player the team specifically targeted because of his size and length, qualities that give the Bills something different than what they've had in that room previously. For these young players, just putting on the Bills helmet for the first time was a moment they'll remember forever. You could hear it in their voices at rookie minicamp. The smiles, the jitters, the awe of being on an NFL field for the first time, playing a real game and wearing a real uniform. One rookie described walking out onto the field and seeing the new stadium and the new environment and just smiling all day because he was living out his dream. That energy is contagious, and it feeds right into the culture Joe Brady is trying to build. Speaking of the new stadium, can we take a moment to talk about Highmark Stadium? Because this thing is going to change everything about the Bills' home field experience. After years of construction, the brand new Highmark Stadium is finally opening its doors for the 2026 season, and the players are almost more excited about it than the fans are. Real grass, no dome, built for cold weather and snow games. Josh Allen himself has been vocal about how perfectly the stadium is designed for the way the Bills play football. He loves the cold. He loves the snow. He loves that there is no artificial turf that beats up players' bodies over a long season. And when it comes to the noise level, players are already predicting that Highmark Stadium is going to be the loudest venue in the entire NFL. Bills fans are among the most passionate, most rowdy, most dedicated supporters in professional sports. Put them in a brand new stadium that was designed specifically to amplify crowd noise, and you have a home field advantage that visiting teams are going to absolutely dread. The first game in that stadium is going to be one of the most electric moments in the history of this franchise, and honestly, in the history of the entire sport. But wait, because while all of this newness and excitement is pouring in from every direction, there is still a sober reality that the Bills coaching staff is navigating. This is a first-year head coach. This is a new defensive coordinator installing a completely new scheme. This is a roster with new veterans who are still learning terminology, still building trust with each other, still figuring out where they fit in a new system. The chemistry that wins championships doesn't happen at OTAs. It happens in training camp. It happens in preseason. It happens in those early weeks of the regular season when everything gets real and you find out what your team is actually made of. Brady knows this. Leonard knows this. That's exactly why the approach during the offseason has been to intentionally overload players with information, to stress them schematically, and to then dial it all in as training camp in Rochester approaches at the end of July. The idea is that by the time week 1 arrives, the mental reps are already there, the discomfort is already worked through, and the team can play fast and free. And that word keeps coming up over and over again when you talk to Bills players about what they love about this new coaching staff. Fast. They want to play fast. They want to play free. They want to play with the confidence that comes from knowing your assignment so well that you don't have to think. You just react. That is the holy grail of football execution. And the fact that players are using that language at OTAs before a single preseason snap has been played tells you that the buy-in is real. The entire NFL landscape is watching Buffalo right now. The AFC has never been more wide open, and the Bills are positioned as well as anyone to make a legitimate Super Bowl run. You have a reigning MVP quarterback who is operating with a chip on his shoulder, a new clarity of purpose as a father, and a full offseason of health behind him. You have a new head coach who is young, hungry, creative, and already beloved by his locker room.